Hey guys, this is your friend Iggy back again. In this video, I'm going to show you guys how to build a PC inside of the Fractal Design Define S2 Vision RGB case, along with the Fractal Design Celsius S36 liquid cooling unit, also with the Be Quiet Straight Power 11 1000 watt power supply, with the Patriot 3200 MHz RGB RAM, the EVGA GeForce RTX 2080 XC Ultra gaming card, the Z390 Dark motherboard from EVGA, the Intel Core i9 9900K, along with the WD 1TB PCIe M.2 SSD, the SN750. Down there you can also see the Kingston A1000 M.2 PCIe SSD, along with the Samsung Evo 850 500 gig SSD, and finally the WD Blue 500 gig SSD. Anyway, come over here real quick and let's get started. Alright, so again we're using the EVGA Z390 Dark motherboard and the Intel Core i9 9900K processor. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this around so that we get a better view of the CPU socket, and I'll zoom in for you. So now with that there, we're going to go ahead and take off the socket protector or the pin protector. Okay, so then now what we're going to do is we're going to push this little lever down, and be careful you don't touch any of those pins. You cannot RMA the board from anybody if those pins are bent, so be very careful. So we're going to go ahead and push this down, the arm down, slide it out and lift it up. So what that's going to go ahead and do, it's going to go ahead and release these two fingers here from under this bolt, and we just pull it back, and that's going to go ahead and lift this tray, and now we'll lift it with our finger. So then now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead, grab the CPU. You'll notice there's a notch right over here and a little notch right there. That aligns with the two notches on the CPU here and over here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and drop the CPU right in there, aligning those two notches. Then I'm going to move it a little bit. You see it doesn't go anywhere, so now we drop the tray, and then we pull the arm down. Now this one, it's going to feel like there's a lot of pressure, so you push it down, and we're going to go ahead and pull it out, push down, push it back in, and then let go. That locks the tray in place. That way, no matter what, that CPU is not going to go anywhere. Okay, now that we're here, we're going to go ahead and install the 16 gigs of the Patriot Viper dual channel DDR4 RGB RAM. Okay, so now I've already gone ahead and opened these up so that the RAM fits right in. So before it would have been like this. So now all I do is open that up and open this one up. And now you're going to notice there's a little notch right over here, which matches up with the notch right here. So if you put in memory incorrectly, it's just going to seesaw just like that. So we're going to turn it around, then drop it right in place. And you'll notice this one and this one are going to go ahead and lock up. That locks the memory right in there. All right, easy enough. And now we're going to go ahead and drop this one. But now that we know that the label is supposed to be on the other side, we'll go ahead and flip it. Sometimes that's not the case. They can be mismatched. But this came in a kit, so I know it's going to match. And I drop it in here. And again, push down over here, and the RAM locks in place. Easy enough. So now I'm going to turn the board around, and that exposes the M.2 PCIe SSD slots. So I'm going to go ahead and install the WD SN750 1TB M.2 PCIe SSD, along with the Kingston A1000 drive. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and first unscrew this screw here. Put that screw aside. They're really tiny, so they're easy to get lost. Then I'm going to go ahead and remove this one as well. Okay, so The EVGA Z390 dark motherboard includes these thermal pads. That's for these SSDs. So just gonna go ahead and take it out of here and remove these little pads. Now I'm gonna go ahead and drop it. Let's see, where would be best? Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and drop it. Actually, they have squares already here, so I'm gonna drop it in that square as best as I can. Okay, so now that that's there, now I'm gonna go ahead and slide this right into here, push it in, and then push down. So now with that down, mind you, I'll probably need to use my finger to put a lot of pressure down. So now I'm gonna go ahead and push that drive down and drop that screw in there. Okay, and just tighten it. So now we'll do the same thing with the Kingston A1000 drive. Slide it right in there. Oh, forgot the thermal pad. All right, and I'll just drop it right in that little square as best as I can. Doesn't have to be 100% perfect. Okay, and now I'll grab the screw again. It's a magnetic tip, so I missed it last time and it just fell out. All right, and just screw it in place. And that's it, we're done. So in that short of time, we've installed 16 gigs of RAM, the Intel Core i9-9900K processor, along with two M.2 PCIe SSDs on the EVGA Z390 dark motherboard. So now what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and attach the Fractal Design Celsius S36 liquid cooling unit. Okay, so first off, what we're going to go ahead and do, and I'll drop this down, is we're going to go ahead and grab this back plate, and then we're going to go ahead and you see these right over here, they're going to go ahead and line up with the holes in the back of the motherboard. And if they don't at first, don't worry, you can always just slide them. Okay, and now I'm going to pop them in. All right, perfect. So now I'm just going to go ahead and drop the motherboard. We can see right over here. Let me zoom in for you. Okay, you can see that popping out here, over here, over here, and over here. Okay, so now what a lot of people do is they immediately wipe the thermal paste off of here without even testing it. So first thing I'm going to do, since I am reviewing the Celsius S36 from Fractal Design, is I'm going to test it first. If it works, great. If it doesn't, well, I'll just swap it out regardless. I am going to end up swapping it out because I am going to test to see which is better, the thermal paste that they provide or the thermal grizzly. And now I'm going to go ahead and take out all the pieces that are required. This works on many different Intel processors as well as AMD processors. So these are the ones that are going to be needed for socket 1151. So I'm just going to go ahead and screw that into these posts. It's okay if you use your hands for this. Just make sure it's real tight. That screw will never touch the motherboard because you'll notice that these posts protrude a little bit. So you will not damage any traces by screwing it in hard. Now we're going to go ahead and slide it down right into these little grooves. Okay, and it's going to match on all four sides. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and grab these guys, four come in the package, and we'll just screw this one in. Not incredibly tight just yet, just enough so that it makes contact. Now we're going to go ahead and install it on this side. So there'll be one over here, and then one right here, and then one right over here. That makes sure that all the thermal paste gets spread out and applied properly. Again, since it was pre-applied thermal paste, I want to make sure that that cold plate makes contact with the CPU completely. And you'll notice these screws have the Phillips head stars on it. That way you can screw it in with a standard screwdriver. You don't have to rely on your fingertips. Right now we're just pre-applying it. All right, so now that we have this one in, we'll go ahead and tighten all 4 of them. We'll start with this one. All right, so we're done. So now at this point, we're done with the motherboard and everything that goes onto the motherboard. So now we're gonna go ahead and put the motherboard inside the case. So since we will be putting a liquid cooling unit inside of this case, unfortunately we can't use this glass, as beautiful as it is. Now if you do have a regular CPU cooler air, you can keep this glass in, but we're gonna go ahead and remove it. So I just press this button here, right here, and that pops this guy out. And now just pull it that way. And now we're going to remove this screw, this screw, this screw, and this screw. Let's do that real quick. So now the bad thing in removing this is that we've also removed one of the RGB lighting strips, but it is glued on here. I'll see if I can remove it and put it somewhere else in the case. I'll let you guys know in a little bit. All right, and now we're gonna drop this in place. So we're going to match up this notch over here, or this tab I should say, with the notch here, here, and here. And actually I'll just show it to you from this angle. And I'm sorry, it's this one, and this one, not the top one. Okay, and just in case, there's 2 ways you can put it. There's this way, so that the fill hole is on the left side of the case, or the fill hole is on the right side of the case. You need to make sure it's on the left side. Okay, and that easily drops into place. So now what we're going to do is replace those 4 screws that we removed before. So the liquid cooling unit, the radiator, is going to attach down here. Now I didn't mention it in the beginning of the video, but this build is titled the Event Horizon. Used to be the darkest light build, but because of all the RGB stuff, I had to change it. Alright, so we got that in there. Now we're not going to do it right now because we need to screw the screws in, but once we're done with that, then we can go ahead and just put this in place so that it has some cover, and then some filters, of course, which you can see there, or maybe there, that there are filters here, easy clean filters. Now we're going to grab the motherboard. Alright, so you may have noticed the fans are already on the liquid cooling unit. I put them in previously, and I'll go ahead and link it in the link above. And then also, just to mention, everything in this review is in the description below, as well as the pinned comment if you want to check it out. So first off, I'm going to go ahead and lift the motherboard with my left hand, which is down here, and then drop this down with my right hand. Okay, I'm not going to totally attach the motherboard just yet. And actually, one thing I forgot is the I/O shield for the motherboard. You never want to do that, although I think we've all done it at least once. Okay, so we're gonna push in the I/O shield right back here. There's that fan cable in the way, sorry about that. Okay, and we're just gonna go ahead and push these notches you can see right here. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then on the top and on the other side, we're gonna push them through this piece of metal and this piece of metal over here. That way it locks in place. Sometimes it's a little difficult, sometimes it's easy. All right. Snapped in really easy. Okay, so there's a standoff right here, 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 and here. Now this is for a standard ATX layout motherboard. Now, right over here, there's a legend, and I'll show you a picture of it. The top is ATX, the middle is micro ATX, and the bottom is mini ITX. And you see there's an A there for ATX, an M for micro ATX, and a T for mini ITX. So depending on your motherboard, you just want to make sure that the standoffs line up correctly. Now on top of that, and good thing I took the motherboard out, I'm actually missing a standoff right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab the other standoff. It brings one extra and put it here. Now, if you have, let's say, a motherboard that doesn't have a standoff, I'm just gonna pick any, doesn't have a standoff right on here, and you leave that standoff, doesn't have the hole for the standoff, you can end up frying your motherboard because the motherboard itself makes contact with this, and if there's a trace or anything like that, it'll make contact and zap your motherboard. So just be on the lookout for that. Okay, now this motherboard brings something that I think every motherboard should, not all do, or case, sorry. It brings this little guy here. This is a standoff screw. So you just get your standoff and you throw it right in here, and that gives you a Phillips head so that you can screw in a standoff. So now we grab that and we screw that in. Because if not, you have to use those little thin pieces of metal some case manufacturers give you to screw that in. All right, so it's in. That makes it so much easier. So now let's put that motherboard back in. And by the way, this was the screw I was using for the motherboard. I'll go ahead and put a picture of what they look like. Okay, so now again, we're gonna go ahead and put that motherboard right here. Gonna go ahead and line it up, then make sure it falls right into that reverse standoff. There we go. Easy enough. And now let's go ahead and screw in at least one screw. And again, I'm just going to use this one. All right. So now the motherboard's in place. So we did that so that we can go ahead and put this liquid cooling unit right in there. Now, one thing that you may want to check before you do this, before you install a liquid cooling unit, if you have a different motherboard, is sometimes the 8-pin CPU power is right here. Then there might be some other power connections right up here. When you put this right up here, they become impossible. Then you have to take this out. So in this motherboard, we're pretty much safe. Now, I have verified that this memory does not get in the way, because it did in my last build on the Fractal Design Define R6 case. All right, so let me bring you along the top. Okay, so then you could see up here, there are two different places. You can put it right up here, which is going to align with this one, or you can bring it right out here, which is going to align with this one. Now, I believe I'm gonna have to use this one, the furthest out, but I'm not 100% sure. Now, I did verify that it'll fit. More than that, I didn't do. So I know it fits. So now we're gonna go ahead and see how well. Okay, so it doesn't match up to the very end. So I'm gonna have to bring it here, right here. And I'm pretty excited that it fits. So we can slide it all along we want to, forward or back. Now with the way that this case has it, I'm going to have to leave it right here. And let me go ahead and put this down right now so I can grab a screw. Okay, so we're going to use a screw and a washer. It has 12 screws and 12 washers to screw it in. Okay, so just gonna go ahead, put this right here. Now yes, the easiest way to do it is with the case laying down, but it's very hard for me to show you anything with the case lying down and the camera and the lighting. So don't freak out, I gotta do it standing up for now. Okay, and because we are standing up, I need to hold it in place so that I can put another screw, and I'm going to put it all the way over here. No matter what, even if I wasn't recording, I actually prefer standing up because I have a bad back. So all right, so now I'm going to go ahead and screw in all the rest. So one sec. All right, so we are done. We got all of them there. So now we just grab this guy right over here and we drop it in place. All right, now we have our new top. So again, even if you don't have liquid cooling unit and you prefer this, you can always swap it out, and you don't need to take off that other piece I took off. You can leave the other one here, remove the glass, and put this in its place, and you could have that if you prefer. Anyway, let's get going with the system. All right, so along the bottom and the back of the case, we're going to see here a big old hole. This is where we install the power supply. So there's a little frame right around here. We're gonna go ahead and unscrew that. Okay, because this is what's going to attach the power supply. We're going to remove all these cables from the inside of the case. That way we can slide the power supply in. Now, because it has all the cables attached, I'm gonna go ahead and put all the cables in first. I recommend attaching the cables before you pop in the power supply, because then it makes attaching those modular cables that much more difficult because you don't have much room in there. Okay, so I'm just pushing everything in now. Now I'm going to turn it around and I'm going to grab all these cables, move them out of the way, and then we'll slide in the power supply. Now, if you notice, there's little rubber pads on the bottom of the case. That is to help vibration so that it doesn't vibrate or as much, those rubber pads. So here is the power supply, and it's not perfectly flush. That's what this is going to fix. So now we're just make sure we align all the holes. So here, 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 and here. And when the case is in, or properly in, the power supply is properly in, they're going to go ahead and align. So we'll just screw this in since we know that that's going to work. Now we're going to go ahead and grab these hex head screws. Okay, and then we'll just line it up, and our thumb right here just to line it up properly. And then now as we're screwing this in, you'll see the power supply start to flush. And you'll see that screw right here start to come forward. Now we'll just pop this in right over here. All right, so that's good in there now. So now we have this big jumble of messy cables. So now we're gonna go ahead and install these two SSDs back here on these SSD trays. Okay, now you can do these with your fingers, but if it's too tight, you just need to do it with your screwdriver. It is a thumb screw. All right, so now we have two options here. We can either put the drive like this so that the SATA data cable and the SATA power cable come out from the bottom, or we can flip it around and do it this way. You know what, I'll do it this way from the bottom. That way I have these cables right here. All right, so we just grab the drive, we line up these holes here, and then we just screw them in. Now we're gonna do the same with all four here and then four on the other drive. So I'll go ahead and fast forward that for you so you don't have to watch it. Now both have been put in there. So now what we're going to do is match up these little holes here with this right up here. Now that can be a little difficult, so you gotta play it by ear. Look at that. First time, that's never happened before. That's pretty awesome. All right, so then we gotta play this one by ear too. second one is usually the easiest. I've never gotten it on the first try, so that was pretty impressive. The R6 has the same type. All right, so now again, we're just gonna attach them down here. Now we're pretty much done with the hardware portion. Now I know I'm missing the video card, and I'm going to save that for last because the video card is going to plug in here and it's going to come out through here and it's going to block these out, so it's going to make it a lot more difficult. I got to stick my head back here so that I could see here. Again, we're done with the hardware portion minus the video card. So now we're going to move on to the cabling portion.
Disclaimer, this product was provided to the author to do a review. All opinions are 100% authors and authors alone. For more information, visit bit.ly/dbdisclose. To have your product or brand showcased on Dragon Blogger, visit bit.ly/reviewmyproduct. Thank you for watching.